Hey, beautiful humans. It's so great to see you today. I know it's been a while since I was on here, but with a massive, lovely, high vibey, calibrative life shift, I really look forward to serving you again. So, this is a very exciting announcement to launch the Magic Academy. So if you've been following me for a while, you know there's a book, Magic is Real. You know there's recorded videos in Wizard School. You know there's a lot of workshops and things I've offered, but this is the first time I'm going to work on building a community of skilled practitioners, magicians, witches, wizards, shamans, lightworkers, etc. Um, Especially during this time of when this is being recorded, we really need the rich type of human connection and tribe that is often much easier to find when we're free to travel and interact as we normally are. And if you're watching this, after the fact, then uh, the same principles really apply. How do you find the people who resonate most with you, who love you for who you are, who appreciate you for who you are, and who are excited to learn the things you're most passionate about, who would love to practice the skills you would most likely like to give and to receive? So the Magic Academy is designed to be just that. We'll be meeting each week. I'll be sharing offerings and teachings and covering Q&A. You'll get to meet a lot of other people, have breakout groups, have masterminds, have accountability buddies, and we'll go through the practices that serve each person in the group best to really level everybody up in ways that we can have shared experiences with. So all the stuff with the chakras, all the stuff with psychic abilities, magic skills, astral projection, manifestation, you name it. And this curriculum in this academy is designed in a very specific way to use magic, which is demonstrably advanced consciousness, always working on new ways to redefine a fun but relatively wide meaning word. And so what that means is as we level up in awareness, in ascension, in enlightenment, in our ascension curve, in our curve of completeness, our continuum of back to unity and source consciousness, whatever story or metaphor you like to use, the more we embody the knowledge that we are the universe and the universe is us, the more that's demonstratable in the world around us. So the flashy magic, like affecting the weather or moving objects, or very rapid healings, the useful skills of remote viewing and accurate astral projection and astral viewing of other events in this world and this timeline, to the higher level mystical abilities where you've heard of a lot of high level ascended masters experience and do and exude and give and provide and practice and all of that. As you raise in your awareness, those things become easier and more natural. And there's a lot of schools and a lot of teachers who say, oh, just learn manifestation and do these types of things, or do this, or don't do that. And it's law of attraction, it's the secret, and you didn't get it, so let me tell you again. And it's kind of piecemeal, it's kind of choppy. And so many mystery schools have all these barriers to access and have their core tradition and their core method. And sometimes it's tough to know who to learn from and how to practice and which thing to pick. And so in about 23 years of study and practice and receiving a lot of one-on-one work and really looking deeply into a lot of different options and traditions and magical practitioners and methods and techniques, I found things that I feel are extremely practical and valuable, both in terms of individual personal and spiritual growth and the stuff that we want to do outside in the world. And while the highest level meta skill is manifestation, is having the agency and responsibility to influence the probability of events you want to have happen, when you really can own that you are the creator of your reality, not just in your inward perceptions, but in your outward visible manifestations, you're going to experience such leveling up. Your life is going to flow like it really hasn't before, except for maybe in small spikes. It's a really delightful thing to experience, and it can't be the result of a spell, and at least sustained practice. The sustained practice, the sustained leveling up, being in flow, feeling great about life, knowing exactly what's right to do intuitively, and doing that and having things work out, being able to move from one meaningful activity to the next without a need for just disconnecting and downtime, because you're so engaged and passionate in life and fueled by life, and do different activities that restore you in ways you need restoring, and let you rest in ways you need to be rested, and excite you in ways you want to be excited, and achieve all the goals that you're looking to have achieved of mindfulness, professional work, etc. This academy is really designed to help you feel that, see that, experience that, be that. And the value of having a tribe of people all experiencing and doing the same thing that you are is you'll be able to share what's going on and receive support from other people who are going through the same thing. And while I'm always happy to offer one-on-one support, as our schedules allow, it's great to know that there's other people out there like you. So what drove me to launch this? What drove me to create this? What drove me to offer this? One of the things that I care about most for myself is being around like-minded people, being around people who challenge me, being around people who help me level up because they have succeeded in doing the things that I have set goals for. And so, yes, that can apply to any category of life. If you want to write a book, hang out with authors. If you want to, become an excellent massage therapist, meet and hang out with other massage therapists and learn from them. But if you want to be a really excellent high-level magician, reality creator, being who embodies inner peace, being who is dedicated to your purpose, a lot of times I honestly, to be really frank with you, fell out of sync with my purpose, my mission, my vision, how I came here to serve. And they say for a lot of people, when you create something, especially an organization, often people create things or innovate things for themselves, for their own need. And the more people they talk to, the more they realize other beings have that need. So while there are a lot of reasons that I might have fallen off the bandwagon in the past, my time was needed somewhere else, my energy was needed somewhere else, it wasn't aligned. I mean, that's a whole personal story thing that, I share bits and pieces in interviews as it makes sense. But what matters for you is how you can be so aligned and how you can be reinforced in your alignment, how you can be connected with people a regular deep friendship basis who get you and support you so much that you don't feel like a weirdo in the bad sense. I had somebody once who said, it's good to be weird. I like weird. Make things funky, mess around with words, wear funky shirts. And they became the things I wear all the time, right? And there's people who celebrate you for exactly who you are. And you know who those are, right? Genuine friends. But friends you've had for a while, unless you met them in a school program or a school curriculum, eventually as you branch out, you have different friend groups of different interests. And while that can be nice, the more I personally interact with people who are at a high level of service to humanity, who care about innovation in the technologies that can measure the aura, the biofield, human energy systems, all the things that used to be so woo, and now we have all these anchored, grounded, peer-reviewed and peer-reviewable sciences backing all this stuff up. It's really exciting. It's a really exciting time. So a lot of people have asked me, is magic real? Is psychic stuff real? Is energy healing real? And those who know it ultimately actually have the same belief pattern. It's funny because I experienced this myself. I was very deep into spirituality and spiritual practices from 12 to 16. I saw some great, very hard to argue with results. I ran things by a lot of, rational, grounded adults at the time to make sure I wasn't just an excited, irrational teenager. And they're like, yeah, that's part of reality. But the biggest thing that anchored in and sustained my practice next to a community was seeing the science. And that's something that I've often had a mixed relationship with, and that's also offered in the academy. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because when you think about investing your time, developing in a certain way, getting to know other people, deep down, there's the question, how will I be accepted in society as my authentic true self? Everybody I've met has kind of decided their own true self, whatever that is going to be expressed someday. But unless you meet, I live near San Francisco, unless you meet like the drag queen who owns it, or the celebrity who, is just as real on screen as off screen, like Jennifer Lawrence, who I really, really respect, has that presence. She's just so real. And you see some people who live and embody their purpose so much that there's no self-consciousness in the sense of not being their true selves because they're afraid of perceptions, right? So the value of science, the value of you learning the science of magic, the science of applied consciousness, is you'll see, oh, here's these people who are linked with the rapid curing of cancer. Here's the documentation for it. And while, of course, legally I can't make certain types of claims, and while they can't either, the correlation data is extremely high. And there's so much out there for remote viewing and energy healing, where with Greg Braden's videos of the Medicine-Less Hospital and the tumor vanishing in minutes as surgeons chant with qigong work and hands-on healing, over this patient who's being monitored on ultrasound. You see the tumor actually vanish in real time, right? And there's so much documentation of magic that each week when I share that in Magic Academy, it's reinforcing, right? So as you dedicate more towards your own spiritual path and your own spiritual expression as you believe it to be, there's always, the topic in a lot of our minds of, how will my family react? How will my friends react? Can I be open about this? Or is it so special it has to be secret, right? The Inquisition was started by a book that J.K. Rowling in the History of Magic, which I feel was a real transmission, with the book The Malleus Maleficarium, or The Hammer of the Witches. And that was actually a book created by a mostly political organization for the purpose of land grab. So as Rowling explains, and she had historians look this up, and you'll have to read that book for the citations and everything. Often in the witch burning times, if you accuse somebody of witchcraft and they were found guilty, which is often the default, you could get their land, right? If there were a woman holding land, especially. And it was very, very abused, and it really hurt medicine workers and herbal therapists and natural healers and midwives and the wise philosophers of villages, because this vibration of fear kind of gobbled it down. Right? And I know our world is no stranger to fear energy. Just look on mainstream news. That's what they're selling. That's how they often keep you engaged. There's a lot to back that up as well. But what can release the fear of raising in spiritual awareness? Even Christianity, part of that story is you raise up high enough in awareness, and you get tortured and die. And if I haven't ever identified deeply as Christian, so I haven't studied everything in minute detail. But I believe that experience was, kind of voluntary, kind of chosen. But at the same time, the religious symbol of that tradition is one that is, linked to both a suffering and an offering. And the experience of our planet, the experience of our being of needing to suffer in order to grow, I think we're ready to release that. I think when you think about joining a school to learn real magic, to learn spiritual, psychic, everything abilities, it's really worth considering how that will bring you joy, and how any fears of society or old friend groups or people who don't like you, their negative thoughts or judgments, how realizing if you do doing something that's true, that's not escapism, that's not fantasy, that's not illusion, that's not trying to pretend life is good, but you're really wasting your time, but you want to think your time is valuable. It's not that, right? And the science really helps you ground in that. So for me, what helped me realize it made sense for a logical reason to talk about and teach and work with and build communities around spiritual practices and spiritual techniques was finding other schools and seeing those schools as sustainable organizations. And none of those teachers were rich. Often in spirituality, that is not the point. In fact, that can be much of a trap, and that's really never been my personal goal. But when an organization is able to sustain, it can provide more. You can have other teachers who are ideally high quality, provide more, and you can bring more people together, and you can just do more in the world. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, check in the live stream. I asked, what does your intuition say you should learn now? And so if you're watching live, please type in the answer to that. And I'll do my best to, respond and include this in the sharing. But in addition to this announcement, I wanted to give a few offerings. So offering one is if you've I want to join this community of awesome magicians. I want to have a tribe. I want to have great learning, great education, great practices. I really want to level up my awareness and open my chakras and have, astral travel and accurate psychic abilities and all this stuff, to be able to share in that excitement, right? For it not to be a thing that you maybe need to make time for, but a thing that, oh, here's a skill like piano or backflips or Japanese poetry, and here's your life. And how does increasing that skill expand your life to include it and raise the possibilities of your experience, of your happiness, of what you can do, of what you can know, feel, think, and say, right? And as you expand that possibility of life, you yourself are more whole, right? And if you've been seeking those things, if you've been watching this, if you've been following me on, anywhere I share and I teach and I put stuff out there, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc., then you've known within yourself you're drawn to this material. And so I want to give you an offer and a challenge. The offer is the possibility of having a curriculum where that interest and curiosity turns into a dedicated commitment to build these skills, to develop yourself in the ways that you care to develop, and to have an anchored certification of your level of abilities to add a bit of formality and structure and to know that you earned it, right? If you go to a Reiki initiation, somebody can wave their hand, say some words, you feel awesome, and then boom, you're initiated into Reiki, right? It's not as meaningful. But when you go to a university or get a professional certification in whatever, you put in a lot of time, you put in a lot of work, you put in a lot of energy, you put in a lot of effort, and all that goes into making that thing meaningful, right? I generally don't keep my college diploma around visibly because my most valuable education was from outside the classroom. So I don't value that experience as much, even though college is a big investment. So if it would anchor your awareness and your commitment and your identity to yourself to have that marker, that can not only help you take yourself more seriously, but be the carrot at the end of the stick, be the motivator for leveling up in the ways you want to level up. Right? It's not just like, oh, a weekly event, a weekly webinar. I'll go if I feel like it. Maybe I'll go out with my friends instead if I don't feel like it this week. It's like, no, this is a cohesive and coherent system with the work to get you to learn and do the things you want to learn to do. In many years of looking at and studying online education, one of the things I found is MOOCs, or massively open online courses, have about a 5-10% knowledge retention rate, even with quizzes and stuff. And a while ago, I was looking into creating an organization that could help people learn rapidly. In the face of artificial intelligence and robotics and technological unemployment overall, I wanted to help people learn new job skills quickly, so the probability of them being unemployed because of software upgrades would lessen, or that experience time would shorten so they could learn really, really quickly. And then Lynda was a big online learning platform that got bought out by LinkedIn. And I thought, oh, this is such a great time. And as I was thinking of starting that organization and getting it funded, my body collapsed. And I realized it wasn't really aligned. It might have been a smart business decision, but it wasn't coming from spiritual service, working on the most meaningful thing that I felt I could offer, that I was born for, that I incarnated for, that my purpose is, right? And maybe that's why you're here. Maybe one of the reasons you're here is to identify with your purpose, the intention you set as a soul incarnating, the thing that you're here to do, and to find out how to do it. So life purpose career coaching is something I've had a lot of receiving a one-on-one mentorship in. And it's something that naturally you might know deep down inside what yours is, or maybe the direction in some general term, maybe not a concrete goal like plant 30 million trees within a decade, for example. But the more you say, open your second chakra and heal and strengthen your second chakra, which to be uber concise deals with relationships, the more the relational aspect of that goal will become clear. The easier it will be to connect with people, the easier it will be for people to find you, the easier those conversations and partnerships can flow. And then as you work on your root chakra, the easier it can be to figure out the financials of how do you dedicate your life to this mission? And then how are the trees paid for and transported and things like that. And so we can easily get the clear sentience, the knowing of a life purpose, of an intuitive direction. Sometimes we can get the vision through the sixth chakra, and speaking it and owning it as an aligned truth. This throat chakra is the bridge between the spiritual and the material. So you're starting to see now how the chakra map and all these spiritual traditions and all these practices of healing, opening, clearing chakras, and all the sound healing all over YouTube can serve in a practical sense. So you have your vision of your purpose. You can see the trees planted, or your own version of that. You can see the ecosystems being restored, the oxygen purifying the area around you. You can feel that or that equivalent is true for you. And then you really can feel the impact. And this is crucial in manifestation. So mini lesson in manifestation, and then tying that into how the Magic Academy can help you learn that faster than probably anything you've encountered before, is if you've studied this stuff at all, you've probably encountered the more you feel with your heart loving gratitude, the faster you'll pull those in. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza, who has such excellent science, I don't even want to try to compare to him. So he's got a lot of brain scans and aura photographs and terms like the piezoelectric effect of the pineal gland. He's got tons of science. So any inner skeptics, check out his science libraries. But when you feel something, your heart's magnetic energy of feeling and emotion and your brain's electric energy of thought can shift the field, and your visualization as an observer can affect the quantum aspect of the field. And since Dispenza said particles at the quantum level appear in and out of our visible universe 7 times a second, And the observer effect has been seen, and not just that tiny microscopic level, as in the traditional, 1920s and 30s experiments, but on the macro level as well, which is the world around you, right? The people around you, the places, the things. So you hear of a shaman get really tuned up, do a dance for the rain, maybe the whole tribe will, and then, soon after the rain comes. And, if you look into it a little bit, hopefully that dance and the correlation of rain, there's not a normal pattern. Like, it's not like it rains every 5 days, and every 5 days, the day before it rains, they do the dance, right? The correlation between that would be tiny. More like there's a long drought, they do a dance, it rains within a day or two, and it's a downpour and more than makes up for the drought, right? Those types of things. So as you manifest things like that, or cars, or places to live, or jobs, or people you want to meet, or finding money on the ground, or finding a lost object, a lot of, there's so many aspects of manifestation. It's literally how your reality shows up. As you feel it with love, you draw it in. And so imagine having something on your vision board, on your goal list, on your manifesting agenda, on your, heal myself or hire somebody to heal me list. We all can, find things we would like to be perfectly healed instantly. On that list, when you choose to do something and you do it on your own, you have the juice that you have. But when there's other people around you sending you intention, sending you love, focusing on you, working with you, asking you questions, getting you excited about your biggest, highest goals and most important priorities, that's really fulfilling. That is so nourishing. Having experienced that in small and large groups, it is life transforming, people. So the Magic Academy, this new component of the school that I'm going to be launching soon, that will have that for the members. So again, if you're curious about that, please just drop a line below or go to magicalgoldenage.com/contact and hit me up. And the link should be in a comment below pretty soon after I finish recording this video here. So there's a couple more points I'd like to make, a few more things I'd like to offer, and then we can, end this video, and I'll probably start another one right away, because I love teaching and sharing and talking about this stuff. So the fifth chakra aspect of manifestation, just to finish out that map, is the will to do something and carry it out. And remember, the truth, is this the right and best thing for you in each moment, right? Holding true to it, not just making something happen. And then the relational aspect and the personal power, grounded material reality aspect of it. Right? As you align to your higher self and your soul and your essence and see your life path and your life plan and attune to the vibrations of love and harmony and abundance that you want to experience in your own life, as your awareness raises to a point of oneness, of unity consciousness, of enlightenment, of feeling connected to and with everything and everyone, and you feel those karmic threads that if you do something or that creates suffering in another being or consternation in another being, or if you do something with the intention of hatred, that energy will come back to you, if not right away as a stress ulcer, then just, through the karmic cycles, possibly through relational cycles. And of course, if you, consider doing something that you, deep down feel isn't right, and you do it anyway, the universe will kind of ding you and say that, don't do that. Often I use intuition and higher self-alignment with eating. And if my mind is like, oh, I want ice cream, or I want this extra big salad, and it's not right for me, part of my body will cramp, or I'll have a tight muscle contraction or feel a little bit of pain. Or if I'm at the gym and working out, and intuitively I work out, I know what thing to go to and what weights to lift and what motion to do. But if my mind takes over and says, no, you should do another set for these reasons, you need more muscle tone here, and I override my intuition, and I even override like the light pain or kink in my neck or back, then very often I'll, force myself to do that extra lifting by only focusing on willpower, and then have some negative physical experience result from that. So the reason I mentioned that little micro story is the question I asked here, what does your intuition say you should learn now? Is because that voice of your soul, that higher self, that inner voice of still and consistent truth that is emotionless, except for possibly peace and maybe joy and maybe love, depending on where you are and how you associate your intuition. That is the truth you're being called to experience. That is the you, that higher, bigger, greater you that you're allowing in, that can sense information beyond space and time for all the probable outcomes that are realistic, and give you the data output of essentially a yes or a no, walk right or walk left, interact with person A or person B in this way or that way, study this, don't study this. And if this is the last video you ever see of me because your intuition says you should follow and only learn from Marianne Williamson or Deepak Chopra, like, I honor that. I hope you find the best teacher for you. And if I can be that, I would love to be that, and please tell me how I can be that for you. Maybe it's the group that's correlated and you love the group more than the stuff I say. And I'm like, that's fine with me. But having had so many teachers, having looked into so many traditions, having had so much personal experience, one of the things I care deeply about is to be one of the best teachers of this material in the world. And objectively, I don't want to start, trying to consider where I am in that continuum. If I'm really low or the middle, or I think that's up for people who are well versed in this material to decide. But I always care to do my best. And if you would like to be of service in any way and offer any suggestions or ideas or requests to help me serve you better, please do so. Post a comment, send me an email, etc. So I'm seeing from somebody that they wanted to learn how to open chakras and why. And so why that's valuable in the Magic Academy, this topic that's so popular, so easy to think about. It's in Doctor Strange. It's in all the art books, right? Why chakras? Chakras, I feel, are an excellent map of the human nervous system, of the life experience in categories of not just physical organs, but major categories of life that, kind of like the Infinity Stones, that define our life, that can define and determine us as a human being. And the exciting part about magic is, each one has mystical abilities that can be unlocked. The heart, for example, it's often said that when chanting the mantra Yam, which helps refine and open the heart chakra, and often connecting with the aspect of the divine, which you can refer to as many names. One name that's been said for that is Ishvara, and that's often associated with surrendering the ego to the divine. Surrendering your ego mind, your socio-culturally conditioned personality pattern, limited to this name and lifetime ego self, to the higher reality of your higher self, of your soul essence, of the greater soul that is you, posing as the you with a name and the you with this body and the you with this age number and your resume and your background and all that other stuff. Right? So as the heart chakra is open by surrendering to receive your higher self and whatever that is, and most of us can picture what that is, what can be unlocked is the siddhi of flight, the ability to fly. And I went on a date with somebody who was a Tibetan monk once, and it was a celibate date, of course, because of his vows. I said, hey, is flying real? Like, I've heard stuff and I've seen stuff, but it was online. I wasn't sure. And because of his vows, he couldn't say. But I think what he was able to say is essentially an illusion that only deeply dedicated students with those vows who wouldn't talk or bring webcams were permitted to witness those things because they weren't ego attached to, have the flashiest delivery service in the world and earn $10,000 from delivering a cake by picking it up and flying it from one city to the next, or just going for joyrides or doing it for evil purposes, who knows, right? And so when you're so aligned that you can have this ability open, that's one way to open it, but there's others. That's the ultimate carrot on the stick, right? And that's also a superpower. The base level abilities from opening and strengthening the heart chakra, as you may know, are empathy. How do you feel what another person feels? How do you know the difference between what they're feeling and what you're feeling if you've had any codependent tendencies or vibrations in your life, which a lot of us in Western culture have, just from family structure dynamics from the 1950s until now. And there's a lot of social science about that, which I'm not here to teach. But when we really can truly feel what somebody is experiencing or how we make them feel, and we can feel it in our systems, ideally by choice with an on-off switch, that helps us connect so much more to the effect we're having on the world and the core intention and the core energy we're holding in our own bodies, in our own systems. And what I mean by that is we've all had the experience of seeing a friend upset or somebody close to us upset, feeling that upset, whether it's mirror neurons or something they said or natural empathy, whatever it is, and wanting to care for that being. And the moment that being knew that we cared and wanted to care for them, even if there wasn't physical action, things shifted. They didn't feel alone, right? So the mini superpower or big superpower compared to most average human that I think most of us have an image of, is being able to give love and give compassion in a tangible, significant sense. Now, why is that a superpower? Why would we want breakout groups and discussion groups? Why would you want to go to school for this and dedicate an hour of your time for this? Think about any relationship you want to change. Think about a relationship going well that you want to have go really, really well. Think of a relationship that makes no sense. There's been all sorts of conflict and stress and tension and other stuff. And what if both you and whoever else is maybe part of that experience dropped into your hearts, felt what each other feels at a deep level of realness, and at some point could shift to a deep sense of embodied love for yourself and for the other or the others, right? And if there's nobody in your life that you feel this possibility with, consider politics, consider major corporations, consider any individual or group who may be triggering to you. That's probably one of your highest challenges. And perhaps the reason they trigger you or could trigger you is because they're your opportunity to build an equal and opposite vibration of love, of caring, of unconditional joy, and wishing that being well, right? That's the loving your torturers level of practice. That's the superpower I think that is valuable to so many of us. And personally, I think flying would be awesome. If I had a choice between flying and what I just described, I would take what I just described, right? So the very grounded part of Magic Alchemy, the very grounded part of practicing spirituality, if that's all that you draw from this, is as a human being, as a soul in a body, how can you experience the most rich love possible, right? And I'm not talking about sexual experiences and romantic loves. I'm talking about the rich type of love you can feel from another being who cares about you. And it's so rich that all you need is eye contact, right? Or all you need, if you have a deeper connection, is to think or consider them, and you feel warm and yummy inside. Kind of like that honeymoon phase at the beginning of a relationship where yes, I found somebody great, and it's going well. And in that first few weeks, first month or two, just like feel such a yummy glow whenever you think about them, whenever you get a text from them. What if you had that for all beings, right? That's kind of an enlightenment quality right there. And not to say I'll teach you enlightenment in 8 weeks or less, not to make any claims related to that topic myself. But if you encounter somebody in the world, if you think about somebody and they're a challenge to you, or one of your biggest challenge, if not biggest challenge ever, conceptually, physically, practically, etc., and you can have just rich love for them, there's such a healing that could be present in your heart, in your emotional body, in your psyche, that all the ways you felt wounded or damaged or suffered or inconvenienced, all those interpretations of events that are linked to, and this might be triggering, so if you need to pause, but might be linked to you being the one who chooses suffering, all that stuff, all that victimization stuff can go away, right? Because then it's no longer party A versus party B. It's no longer even, because of the wildfires, because of a virus, because of whatever geopolitical circumstances, because of these, now you feel a certain way, and that way isn't great, and this person better change, or this organization has to shift, or this government has to do that, or I hope it rains, or those arsonists who started the fires, or the evil shadow government people who started, whatever it is, right? If you can feel love for that which you demonize, then there's no demons in your life, in the sense of how it affects you, right? Past, present, or future. And so the kind of cliche term that does ring true deep down, that love pushes away fear, that light pushes away darkness, that love transmutes fear, that light transmutes darkness. Yes, in unity consciousness, non-duality, there's a room for everything, but that's not to say, okay, let's just go, do some darkness to make balance in the world. That's not that at all. Like, it exists, but it doesn't have to exist in your life experience or right around you. And so for the super woo folks out there, the story of Atlantis that I align with most from my mystery school, which is Damanhur in Italy, they're a very Atlantean tradition. I've spoken about them in my book, Magic is Real. And if you look at their website or visit, as I have when I studied there, it's very rich. And so their story of human history and the evolution of humanity has a part of Atlantis at the golden age of civilization across the universe, where the darkness energy of destruction, of fear, of death, of all those topics which we have typically negative associations with. I know death is just a transformation, but generally like genocide types of death, not like the natural cycles of life and death. All that energy was sequestered in a corner of the universe. And at some point, that darkness broke out of its shell and spread, and that was related to the fall of Atlantis. Yeah, you could say their experiments are going too far, arrogance about their abilities, or hybrid animal-human experiments, or whatever from looking into Atlantean history and the good and the bad. And I'm not going to speak about my past lives about that right now. I'm just mentioning a point. If you think about the turning of the wheel or the rotating of a yin-yang, how there's always light and darkness and light, there's parts of the yin-yang of the symbol of infinity that are all light and darkness is so far away. And there's a little bit of it in there. And then you see a part where it's so much darkness and only that little dot of light, right? And if you've looked at different big calendars, okay, the Kali Yuga time, based on different interpretations, has finished, is about to finish, we're going to be in it for longer. There's stuff with the age of Aquarius, there's stuff of the golden age, there's Mayan calendar stuff of timeline shifting and dimension shifting and era shifting. But ultimately, all of these metaphors we have in our mythologies, in our common shared stories as a global civilization, point to a shift of phases. And I believe this is a metaphor we can all take in our lives. We could have an entire course, 100 hours on the Kali Yuga on how to work with certain dates and times and magically shift away darkness. I personally think all of those maps can be helpful, but ultimately are just stories, are just metaphor for our lives and how we live our lives. So when you consider shifting from darkness to light, not ignoring darkness, not completely vanishing it and pushing it really far away, but just shifting your own life experience, a key to that is how much light can you exude? A key to that is how much light do you embody, right? If you hold light within you, then you're going to experience more light. Even if somebody's banging on your head with a hammer and it's really like, ow, the part of you that would suffer from that would be less, right? And hopefully the part of you that's so light would just zap the person who banged you with a hammer and they would stop. And that's kind of a weird example, but I hope what you get what I'm saying related to my previous example. So tying that all in, imagine a group where you share each week how you, and I'm just speaking in very ordinary level of consciousness terms, how you got offended, how you felt wronged, how this person, place, thing, organization, whatever, messed up, how they're being evil, how they're being irresponsible, how that's affected you and whoever else and trees and anything else in the world, right? All of these stories, if before you take judgment in and allow the patterns of your brain to repeat, quoting Dispenza again, apparently for the average person, 95% of our thoughts on day 2 are the same as day 1 in any given 2 days, unless you actively shift your thinking and your field. And I love his quote, the neurons that fire together, wire together. So if you're used to thinking in these patterns of victimization, of suffering, of not feeling safe claiming your truth, of not trusting your own psychic abilities, of not claiming and living in your intuition, of not, root chakra, feeling safe or comfortable or prosperous in the material realm, no matter what your status or details are, or second chakra, any funky relationship patterns and, for some digestive patterns, whatever chakra or chakra metaphor you want to use. The more you fill it with light, the more you practice the heart technique I shared with you with the chakra in hand, the more those things will shift inside your body and outside in your material reality. And that's very exciting to see, right? And whether you're somebody who just takes this as metaphors and subconscious priming, or deep down the truth of this stuff, however you would interpret it, it's really exciting to share that. And it's really exciting to offer discussion groups where people can share their experiences and lift each other up. So if you're having a bad day, or if you're feeling anything undesirable, or you really don't know if people are there for you, and you're like, hey guys, I'm going through this life experience, this thing just happened, here's what I feel, I kind of just, right? And you can have loving people connect with you and say, are you coming from ego or coming from soul? Are you allowing yourself to get swept up and stay in the darkness? Are you going to stand up, aligned, spine straight, to the best of your physical ability, given your body, and fully be so in tune with your intuition, with your higher self, with your empathic abilities, with the truth of what is, and everything else, that you instantly shift from victimhood, from suffering. And the really cool thing about that is there's a fair bit of psychology science that talks about optimism and creativity and the links between them, and people feeling happier and more optimistic about things and having more and better ideas. And again, I'll let you search for that if it's very meaningful to you. I'm not here to give a dissertation, but if you feel sincerely, genuinely good about something, how you treat it, how you respond to it, what you think you will need to do, can all shift. And that's a very exciting element of manifestation. So being in a group environment, being in a school group environment, can have that level of practical support and nourishment that I think a lot of us appreciate and crave and hope for. So please let me know your thoughts on everything I shared. I'd love to know what you're excited about, what what you want to learn more about, what you don't care about so much. And the specific launch date, we're going to launch it when we have a critical number of people. So we know providing it means you're going to come into a container of 11 other beings. Right now we're looking at 12 people per cohort, with me being the 13th for the really intimate groups, and then larger groups that we're teaching Q&A, and the breakouts happen after the call. So I'm looking at a couple different formats that also have economic accessibility. And as you know, I put out a lot of free stuff, so that there's always free resources for people to access, experience. But I would love your help in co-creating this if you feel called to that. I have no problem making creative content. I've written 3 books, I published 1, I put out hundreds of hours of videos. I've done a lot of work that is related to this path, is related to teaching, is related to serving. And there's a lot I'm excited about. And I'm not some big corporation that does some massive market research thing, but I have somebody who cares about you and your input. So if you would love to learn something and you think this would be really valuable to get support from, then I'd be more than happy to consider that with a curriculum that's already designed, and get your feedback along with the feedback of anybody else who's excited to see, okay, what would be awesome to add in here? What would be less awesome to add? How many people want this? How many people want that? And then include something in this kind of co-creative process where I teach what I'm qualified to teach, you learn what you're excited to learn, and you can go from the template and the course outline I have of all the yummy stuff, or actually take part in helping to design, or at the minimalist, helping to recommend or offer different topics, and trusting the field to harmonize and align with the topics that would serve you best, whether it's that one or that one inspired somebody for something else that is more aligned. So I hope this was useful and interesting and valuable and worth your time. It's the first video I've made in quite a while, so I'm sorry if it wasn't as sharp or as together, but I feel I've had so much growth as a human being in these last few months that my teaching abilities will increase as a result. And I'm really looking forward to serving you however I can. So as always, I see you. I believe in you. We are one.